Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending where you're at in the country or the world. We will give it a few more minutes because we only have a few attendees so far. So I'll give it a couple more minutes and we'll get going. Okay, we'll start our presentation. I will share my screen here. And you can use the chat and the Q&A section to ask specific questions related. We'll go through the questions at the very end of the presentation. And you can use the chat for communicating any other issues. We have one other organizer on the meeting, and they can answer you if there's any technical issues. And sharing my screen. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. And we want to keep this presentation pretty light, once, because it's Friday. Number two, this is also a newer topic for ourselves. We're still learning and exploring. So we want to make this more of a discussion regarding the adhesive systems. So I want to start with a quick introduction of our company. Our company name is Luha. We focus on facade solutions. That's our niche, so we operate in that realm. And our uniques are design, supply, support. So we design facades, we supply them, and we support the architects and installers all the way through the end of the project. And this is our unique value proposition. We're not just a manufacturer rep company, we're a full service supplier. Just waiting for the next slide. This is also a little bit about who we are. Here we have presented product categories that we distribute. We have terracotta, we have attachment systems for all types of cladding. We have GFRC, sintered stone, perforated panels, expanded mesh, and we have also more options. And of course, today we'll be focusing on the attachment systems and specifically the adhesive method of attachment systems. And here on the left, you can see a little bit about our mission, which is make facade delivery simple. We want to make sure that when customers are dealing with us, it's an easy transaction, sort of like ordering things on Amazon where there's kind of intuitive transaction, high visibility, customer service, etc. And this is our in-house team that we have. It's designers, project managers, estimators, and marketing and office support. And our core values is that we do what's right for the client and the project. We communicate openly and honestly. We work as a team, inside and outside, and we find the silver lining even in most difficult situations. We try to see the positives and not focus on the negatives, because in our industry there's a lot of those. And last but not least, we dare to fail, because we believe that without failure, there's no growth, and we take on challenging projects, and we kind of stretch ourselves to grow. And more importantly, this creates a culture that it's okay to make mistakes, and failure. It's not the end of the world, because they do happen in our industry, and we just have to deal with them. Again, the main thing is that we do what's the right thing for the client and project. And sometimes it's not the easiest thing, but we know it's the right thing. And on a typical project, if you're an installer, an architect, you might be dealing with various parties to deliver a facade project. You might be dealing with a panel supplier, backup system supplier, engineer, drafter, logistics company, and those all could be different points of contact. So our value proposition is that we encompass all those aspects of facade delivery, the cladding, the backup system, design, engineering, and logistics, and the customers only have to talk to us, which is one point of contact, which makes everybody's life a lot easier. It's a single source responsibility, and yeah, it's a lot more streamlined way of delivering projects. And now we're going to get to the actual presentation, which is the adhesive bonding systems. And what does it really mean is that we can attach cladding without using screws, just using adhesives. And this technology, adhesive technology, is used in different industries. It's used in automotive industries. About 50% of our car assembly is made from adhesives, and it's actually, in some cases, makes the whole assembly stronger. Airplane fuselages are using adhesives to keep it all together. Even in construction industry, in window and curtain wall industry, structural glazing uses silicone to keep the glass in place. And the question is, why not cladding? Or why can't we attach panels to the wall? And the answer, we believe, is because of skepticism, because we're not sure if the technology works. We're not sure if the panels are going to fall off. So the only way to overcome the skepticism is to have more projects like this, but also education. And from my standpoint, when we started learning about this technology, we were also skeptical. We came from the world of mechanical attachment. Screw is always better than adhesive. But as we started learning more and learning about Tueja, who is our manufacturer that we distribute in the United States, we started to see the benefits and see the technology and see the testing that's behind the product, and really learn and be more comfortable with the methods. And so we're going to talk about these the adhesive methods. And again, this is a educational mostly session. There's going to be some product specific things. And we invite you to really scrutinize this and put your questions in the chat, and we'll answer them later. And if I can't answer them, I'll make sure to get back to you, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we're still learning, and we hope to do more sessions like this regarding this technology, because we think that it should be implemented a lot more. And yeah, let's try to develop this market in United States because the reality is that in Europe, this technology has been used for quite some time, and we know that some of the technological adoptions into the facade market takes sometimes decades to come from Europe here, but it works in other places in the world, so it also will work here. So the agenda for the meeting is we're going to look at how does the adhesive technology work, um, bonding in ventilated facades, the benefits of using adhesives versus screws, benefits of specifically Tweja over other adhesives, and I'm going to show you some resources and tools that are available for you to research this topic more. So first, we're going to talk about the adhesion and cohesion basics. So if we look at the word adhesion and cohesion, it has the same root word. It goes back to Latin language, but if we look at the word adhesion, it kind of means sticking together or clinging of things together. So adhesion means that you're sticking unlike molecules, and basically it's adhesion or connection sticking between two different materials, and cohesion is sticking of the like molecules. So this diagram kind of shows that cohesion is really what keeps the actual adhesive material together, and adhesion is how this material is sticking to the substrate as well as the panel. And why is this important to understand? Because again, we talk about skepticism in this technology because everybody's afraid how it's going to fail. And this is why it's important, because we want to look at how this material fails when it's tested and when it's in service. So we have generally two types, which is the adhesive and cohesive failure. And what we want to avoid is adhesive failure. So our adhesive separating from the substrate or adhesive separating from the panel. Uh, during testing, we want a cohesive failure, which means that the failure happens within the actual adhesive material. And when that happens, when you look at both materials, you will have adhesive on both sides. So you'll have adhesive on the substrate and adhesive on the panel. So when it's tested, we want to achieve that the cohesive failure happens first and not the adhesion failure. And that's going to be your limiting factor, which you'll be using in static calculations. So we find out when the cohesive fails, and then we can go on and use that. Of course, there's a couple of other types of failure when there's a combination of failures, where it's both adhesion and cohesion. And it could be that, let's say half of your the surface area that your adhesive was attached to was dirty, so that caused adhesive failure and then cohesive failure in the middle. And then there's also substrate failure if the actual materials that you're attaching are weaker than the adhesive, which does happen sometimes. Again, um, that's more positive failure because the adhesive is stronger than the material. And bonded facade is a ventilated facade. In vast majority of cases, we want to make sure when we're using this technology, it's in a ventilated facade. And why is that? Well, ventilated facade, as many of you know, it's already a better way to build walls because of ventilation, airflow behind the cladding. We have this chimney effect. We have hot air escaping from the top, and then we have cold air coming in from the bottom, which creates this um, drying out process. And really, any kind of facade will perform and last a lot longer in this rain screen assembly, and therefore adhesive methods also last longer because you don't have moisture, you don't have mold, you don't have other things that are happening behind the cladding because it's all getting ventilated out. In addition to that, adhesive facades perform better when it's completely open joint. So you have open joint, drain, and back ventilated facades. Yes, because again, when you have joint closure, joint sealant, now you're preventing uh, moisture from entering and escaping as well, and there's potential for mold growth and etc. And Yeah, we even on wood cladding, a rain screen method makes the wood cladding last a lot longer. So um, this adhesive method, which is a system, wants to make sure that you have proper ventilation. And I've committed a crime of PowerPoint is putting too much text in one slide. But this is there's a lot to talk about, and I'll kind of go over some of the benefits of using adhesives versus screw methods. So the adhesives allow you to join different materials together. You can join glass, metals, plastics, ceramic, stone, and other. So really any type of cladding, you're able to adhere it to the substrate, and you can adhere to aluminum, to the wood, and it also eliminates the corrosion potential between dissimilar materials. For example, if you're attaching, a steel panel to aluminum substrate, typically you would have a corrosion or a potential for corrosion because of the two dissimilar materials. And now you have an adhesive separating them. This is why it's also used in automotive industry, airplane industry, because it allows to bond these different materials without possibility of this galvanic corrosion. It also does not produce deformation of the material that can happen when using fasteners. And also the adhesives absorbs thermal expansion because the adhesives are elastic. So as the substrate moves, as the cladding panel moves, it moves with it because it is elastic. And with screws, you have to be very careful. For example, you have to have fixed point connection, flexible point connections, and you have to make sure that your screw is in the center of that slot or the oversized hole when you're attaching cladding. And we've seen a lot of failures happen in other projects or just in the industry in general because this is not followed. And if you're using adhesives, you don't have to worry about it as much because the adhesives allows for this elasticity to happen. The other thing from the standpoint of sustainability is that you can use thinner cladding materials when you're adhering because you don't need to accommodate for anchors or um, for any kind of attachment method. So for example, if you're attaching natural stone, unless you're using undercut anchors, the stone has to be 1.25 inches, sometimes 2 inches thick to allow for pin or kerf attachments. With undercut anchors, you can use 3/4 inch thick, but essentially you can use thinner materials, and that goes for stone, for porcelain, for other cladding materials that you need to have any kind of bite into if you're anchoring them. So if you're using thinner cladding, now you have less transport, lighter structure, less waste. So it's more environmentally friendly altogether. The other big aspect is homogeneous distribution of loads versus point loads. So if we think of a panel attaching via fasteners, let's just say it's a fairly small panel, let's say 3 by 3 feet high by 3 feet wide. 1 meter by 1 meter if you're watching from Europe, and you attach it at 4 points. So all the loads, wind loads that are acting on the panel are distributed at these 4 points of connection. With adhesive, it's more evenly distributed because it's a strip of adhesive that's attached to the back of the panel. And last but not least of this slide is the less costly than fastening methods. Because you don't need to drill panels, you don't need to use fasteners, you need less tools required, and it's faster installation because again, you're not switching between anchors, clips, fasteners, etc. So it really is quite more economical to attach this, especially if you're considering uh, concealed anchoring methods and things like that. This is several times cheaper just for material as well as install than those methods. And of course, what are the downsides? Because we can't only talk about the upsides of adhesives because again, if there's only upsides, everybody would be using it. But this is a big one when it talks about skepticism is the failure. It's the afraid of the failure. And we've heard several people say, we think the technology works, or we believe that technology works, and it does, but we're always worried about um, how the workers will apply this method, especially if it's field applied and not shop applied. There's always a concern. So when speaking with the manufacturer, and they've done over 1,000 projects all over the world, and through those projects they had several failures, and all those failures were attributed to improper application. Um, there was only a few failures, and they could track it back to some kind of improper application, which could be that the substrate was wet because it was early in the morning and there was a dew on the aluminum or something that you needed to attach to. And when the substrate or the panels are wet, the adhesive doesn't work as well. Maybe the substrate was dirty or greasy and the panels weren't cleaned correctly. Using improper product for the panel. So Tueja makes different products, which I'll go over a little bit further down the line. But for example, we have Tueja panel mate that might work for one product, but the Tueja stone mate is specifically designed for other type of products. And if the installer is not careful, maybe they have both on site, or maybe they just grab the wrong tube and they're using one product for um, for the wrong application. And using below or above recommended application temperature. And I will get more into that because that's why Tueja is great, because it allows for wide range of temperature applications. And so we're going to talk about some of those benefits. And the other disadvantage that we kind of seen is that I guess there's some movement or tendency about um, cladding materials being reused down the line for future projects. Again, this is kind of mm, what we see, and the concern is, can you remove panels without damaging them? And the answer is that it's not easy to remove panels because the adhesive really bonds and sticks to the panel. So if you try to rip the panel off, you'll most likely damage the panel. Uh, so it's not easy to remove without breaking the panel. You can remove and destroy the panel and put a new panel in place in case your panels get damaged down the line. So that can be done, but that panel is not salvaged. So again, those are some of the disadvantages. We invite you to share your concerns in the chat and see if we can discuss more. And what is the adhesive made of? And this is relating to Tueja adhesive. A lot of people ask, is it silicone based? Is it urethane based? Well, it's neither. It's a polymer based, and there's a lot of other additives in it to make it perform how it needs to perform. It's a proprietary mix, but this is kind of um, a rough idea of what's inside the adhesive. And we're going to look at the components of an adhesive system. So how does it stick together? And when we talk about this adhesive, it's not just a product, right? It's a complete system. And the main structure of the system is that uh, the building, and then you have load-bearing construction. And this load-bearing construction, most of the times it's either vertical aluminum rails that are mill finished or anodized. We don't want a painted finish because that has its own adhesion characteristic. We don't want to rely on that. And it can also be wood, but the wood needs to be pre-treated with a special product that Tueja also makes. It's called Wood Protect. And there's only certain kinds of woods that should be used. So most applications, it will be an aluminum vertical rail. And then we have Tueja tape, which is a double-sided stick tape. And then we have the adhesive. So the tape acts as a instant adhesive while the bonding product is actually sets in place. So when we start installation, we want to start on the bottom row, and we put like a dead load 2x4 or a metal angle to keep the first panel in place so we can stack. But essentially, when you stick the panel on, this double-sided tape keeps it in place, and adhesive, will grab in 24 hours. It's not fully cured, but it will be strong enough so you can stack. And in 5 days it's fully cured, and then the tape is just there for that initial method. We don't rely on the structural performance of the tape for the life of the cladding. And this is kind of various assemblies that we already talked about. So again, number 4 is a cladding panel. This could be really any flat cladding panel. GFRC, natural stone, terracotta, if it has a flat back, could be fiber cement, HPL, metals, glass, etc. And then you have number 2 is your tape, number 3 is your adhesive, and number 1 is your substructure. Again, it could be aluminum rail, Z's, wood. So there's several options to attach the panels. We do want vertical attachment. Horizontal is available in some options, but again, we talked about the proper ventilation of this. So vertical supports allow for proper ventilation behind the panels. And here are some benefits of Tueja over other adhesive systems, because there are other products on the market that perform the same things. One big benefit that we saw for ourselves is, number one, Tueja only produces these types of products. So they're only concerned about how to attach cladding onto the wall. Other products on the market, they're usually manufactured by a large chemical corporation, and they have hundreds or thousands of other products. And so this is just a small, very, very small market for them, and they don't focus on it as much. While Tueja, they really invest everything to make the installation easy. They develop tools. They make it so it's sort of foolproof, if you will. And this is kind of a really, really big advantage of them. And I'll show you the resources and Tueja's website that you can see everything is geared towards that. The other big advantage is the application temperature. With Tueja, you can go -4 Fahrenheit to 100 Fahrenheit application. So that's -20 Celsius to 40 Celsius. This means it can be applied in the most frigid temperatures. I'm based in Minnesota, so there's probably a few weeks in January and February that this cannot be used. Other than that, it rarely falls below -4, and really nobody wants to work at that temperature anyways. But it has been used in northern climates in Scandinavia, Northern Europe, Canada, United States. It's possible. So, and as well as 100 degrees. Again, maybe on the hottest day in Arizona, you won't be using this, and you have to wait until it cools down. But this covers a huge range of temperatures. The other huge advantage is that there's no primers required, and Tueja does produce kind of a pre-treatment liquid for some of the porous materials, such as fiber cement. Some natural stones require these prefix components, but for the majority of cladding materials, there's no primers required. And primer is it's a quite aggressive chemicals because they increase the bond of the metals. And if we look at double-sided tapes that are on the market that are heavily used in the industry, you have to prime it. It has to be done in shop-like condition when there's no wind, dust, etc., because everything will affect the adhesion. Well, with Tueja, the reason it's developed like this is that it can be field applied, and you're eliminating that extra step that for other adhesives it can become quite crucial. And for this one, it's more forgiving, if you will. So again, everything is designed to eliminate mistakes in the field, and again, reduce that skepticism. The other big thing is fire rating. There's several tests that have been performed with Tueja, and the most recent one they achieved A2 rating, which is practically non-combustible, and it doesn't contribute to fire development. So this is a huge plus for Tueja as well, because again, fire is a big concern for the industry, so we want to eliminate that. And it's a facade system and not just an adhesive product. And it's a system because there's multiple products involved when you're attaching. You have the tape, you have the adhesive, you have the cleaners, um, you have the blacken, which is to paint the profiles. You have special applications, and then there's also a lot of these guarantee and quality control tools that Toy has developed. So when an installer is putting this together facade, they're checking what's the dew point, what's the temperature, what is the ventilation, is this a ventilated cladding or not? So in that sense, it kind of is a complete system to make just better walls in general, not just use adhesive. And here we'll look at some completed projects. Just as a showcase, again, there's, I believe, over 1,000 projects at this point completed with this product. I've featured here some of the ones that are in United States. We have stone made being used for a project in Cleveland, attaching natural stone. We have a project in Seattle, Washington. Again, stone made, using for attachment of terracotta. Glass made for attaching opaque glass panels. This is a project in Denmark. And here we have an image of a unitized curtain wall assembly using Tueja adhesive systems. So it can be used in curtain wall unitization as well. And Metal Mate is another product specifically for metal. This was Eindhoven Airport in the Netherlands. And I should mention that this company is based out of Netherlands, and that's where the manufacturing is. And another metal made project in Groningen. And this is again attaching metal panels to the substrate. So last I want to show, I'll kind of go to the Tueja website, and I'll show you the resources that are available for you to research this. And first is the Tueja knowledge box. And so I'm gonna drag it over here. So this is the Tueja website. They're not huge on marketing and graphics looking amazing, but they have so much substance on this website, not just for adhesive, but just for knowledge of rain screen and facade in general. So if we go to the knowledge box here, we have probably about 100 different articles about again adhesion, but as well as just regular topics about facades. So you can have Tueja tape explained, ventilated cladding over the years. Ventilation is more important. So if you click on specific topic, it's usually 1 to 2 page read. So and it's a quickly digestible, and you can look again. This is just 1 page and talks about why ventilation is important in facades, etc. So this knowledge box is a really powerful tool to learn about the product. The second big thing is the tests. So as far as the tested materials, so on most of the applications, Tueja does testing for various substrates. So if we look at these hundreds of substrates, when we say substrates, these are cladding panels that have been already tested. We can see that there's Corian panels, there's GRC, there's Ethelbond, which is an ACM. Eternit is a fiber cement product, Fiber C, ceramics, you name it. Most of the manufacturers for cladding materials have already been tested. We have a list of many popular natural stones that have been tested, baguettes, neolith, etc. So, and even if there's a product that has not been tested, Tueja is happy If you send them 10 samples, we can do the testing pre-project to make sure that it does work. And here on the top, it lists what product was tested with. So panel mate, stone mate, metal mate, and whether cleaner is always used, but this prefix extra is sometimes on certain fiber cement panels it's required. And this test report, if you request for an existing product or a new product, this is it's 32 pages long. This is for a DACO GRC, which we also distribute this material. It shows all the testing that's been done, the correct procedures for the material. So it's not just the technology that works, but it gives you all the testing for adhesive, tensile strength, and the force that was used when the failure happened. And guarantee procedures. So this is another interesting tool. So when an installer goes to go on site, you have these project registrations, inspection forms, so everything is already done. We have project name, humidity, dew point, what is the substrate, what's the quality of the panel. So it really sets up installers for success in order to provide a great system. And the system is warranted for 20 years, which is really good as well. And the technical support is great. If you have any technical questions, we're able to answer some, or the factory is quite helpful in addressing many concerns. And the other, last but not least, this is what I use the most, is the calculators. And there's two calculators. One is the quantity calculator. So within probably about 2 minutes, you can estimate how much material you're going to need for a specific project. The results will be displayed here, can be emailed to you, and then we can quickly develop a pricing based on those results. Again, even if you add some wastage to it, the cost is quite economical anyways. And the other big thing is the dew point calculator. So if we say, oh, what's the temperature outside? So where we are, I think it's about 55 degrees and 40% relative humidity. We'll go to Fahrenheit here. And we'll say that 31 degrees is the dew point. So today, for example, we shouldn't be installing, anywhere, anytime the dew point reaches below 31, the droplets of water will start forming on metal and other materials. So we want to avoid that. Again, this is an easy way for an installer to get to the job site, type in two numbers, calculate the dew point to make sure, oh, we got to wait till it warms up a little bit. We start applying this. So that's just one of the big things that you have to watch out for. Yeah, I believe that's it as far as the and as far as different materials available. Yeah, so these are different products, or at least some of the products that Tueja has available. And again, if we go to the website, there's description for each material. There's safety data sheet, there's material product data, but most of the systems will consist of one of these panel mate, stone mate, glass mate, metal mate, which are kind of self-explanatory in terms of what material we're attaching. There's always going to be a cleaner, and if you can see my webcam, the cleaner can come in a 5-liter or a gallon and a half bucket, or these aerosol cans that you spray onto the substrate and the back of the panel to clean them. So that comes part of the system. Tueja tape, which is a double-sided foam tape, pretty self-explanatory. And then Tueja Blacken is a I'm gonna stop sharing because I want to show you something on the camera. So Tueja Blacken is just it's a black paint that you can use in case you see a mill finish profile behind the panels. You can use this and there's a special applicator tip that goes onto the tube, and you could just paint the profiles if you need to. It is available in larger formats, so it's less wasteful, but these small ones are really nice to have because a lot of times if you open a big can of something, you'll use it up and then yeah, and then a lot of it goes to waste. So this is available also. Um, the adhesive material either comes in cartridges, but a lot of times if you're using a lot, they provide it in foil sausages, and you can squeeze them into the caulking gun. That's what we see most of the time. And then there's applicator tip. So this tip right here allows you to have a triangulated bead of adhesive when you apply it. So this just screws onto your caulking gun or in this cartridge right here, and then you apply it to make sure you get a nice uh, triangle bead. So when you press the panel, the adhesive squeezes and it yeah, it creates a nice white profile. And let's see. Yeah, and again, just wanted to share. I don't know why I can't see my. Huh. Anyways, I can bring back the slide. Um, but the concerns, again, the main concerns that we hear is the warranty, life expectancy, fire, failures, training. So this is what we hear. Again, that kind of concludes the presentation on the actual adhesives, and we'll open it up for the Q&A session. I'm gonna check the, yep. Okay, no questions so far. If anybody has questions, you feel free to type into the Q&A chat box. And if there'll be no questions, I'll uh, start addressing kind of the frequently asked questions that we hear as well. Well, one is the warranty. Again, I've mentioned before that Toyota product offers 20-year warranty. And then the next question, well, what is the life expectancy? And um, this technology has been used for about 40 years, and it does work. And the life expectancy conservatively is estimated at 50 years. So this will be give you a 50-year cladding, provided that it's maintained and there's ventilation, it's a proper facade system. And that is a conservative estimate if the cladding is maintained and there's ventilation. There's been some university studies on the adhesives and accelerated aging, and they think it could last up to 100 years. So it really is a long-lasting product. Again, current designs are all 50 to 100 years. Unfortunately, we see a lot of architecture that is quite, let's say, short-lived when after 20 years it's being reclad or demolished. Fire, I mentioned before, it has been tested for several fires, safety things, and it does perform well. The panels, if they're combustible, burn before the adhesive. Failures, I've mentioned with that. There's also training available if there's a project that you have. We can provide installation training to come to your shop or in the job site and ensure that the material is applied correctly. Yeah, if nobody, oh, we got new posts. Oh, we do have questions. I'm sorry. Uh, I didn't see it. So, uh, first question was, what is the temp limitation after application? So, that's a good question. What is the in-service temperatures? And I don't remember offhand, but the application is -4 Fahrenheit, and I believe the service temperature is -40 Fahrenheit, all the way up to 150, something like this. Um, but I can verify that. But I know it's definitely much wider range than the application one. After application, how much time to adjust if necessary? So yeah, that's a good question too. The material starts to develop like a film and become quite tacky after 10 minutes. And then it does take, 24 hours for it to fully cure. But I would say that you have between 10 minutes and an hour or something to adjust your panel in case you need to do it. The tape does grab, so um, yeah, it allows you some flexibility, but it does go pretty quickly. And how does the ICC model codes address an adhesive cladding application approval acceptance? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I will do some research. Again, there are other products that are out there that um, are similar. I want to start there and see if they have achieved any ICC um, approvals. But yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. And John, I will get back to you separately on that one. Let's see. Okay, I don't think there's any more questions. Um, I will just leave and see. I'll just leave a. Okay. I'll just leave my contact info in case. This is just to my LinkedIn page. If you could see, this QR code will lead to my LinkedIn if we haven't connected yet. I think everybody who's on the call I know personally, so um, we're probably connected on LinkedIn as well. But if you need more information, please feel free to reach out. And um, I really thank you for joining on this first webinar series, and we hope to maybe do this at least once a month, maybe every other week on different topics related to cladding, panels, attachment systems, etc. And yeah, we thank you for being part of the first one, and we hope to see you again soon.